Hi, today, welcome back. Today we will talk a little bit anatomy of the heart, not whole in detail, but some of the part we will talk about some of the outside the structure and a little bit something the inside structure we will talk about. And but before I talk about, I wanna talk about some of the stuff. You know what heart really, how much the blood heart really pumps and all this. So let's be the heart. So I want to let you know at least heart pumps blood. At least during sleep time, heart pumps at least 30 times its own weight blood each minute, about 5 liters to the lungs, some volume to the rest of the body, and at least at this rate, heart pump more than 1400 liters a day, 1400 liters a day, and 3,600 gallon a day, and around about 10 million liters a year, and 2.6 million gallon in a year. And the size of the heart is basically in adult, not in fetus, but I can tell you, around about 12 centimeter, 5-inch long, and 9 centimeter wide, 3.5 inches wide. So around about 6 centimeters is thick. So that's basically how the heart is, which pump the blood. And what really I want to talk about a little bit, today, basically, like I said, the outside the structures. So basically, the pulmonary artery, which originate from the heart, and aorta, the biggest artery in the body, we call that, which is originate from the heart. Then it go behind the diaphragm, and then come back, and then bifurcate, which is through as soon as past the diaphragm, it divided, right to left artery. So then goes to the leg, become abdominal arteries. So basically, it's where it originate right from the heart. From which side? That originate from the left side of the heart. And this pulmonary artery, which originate from the right ventricle side. So basically, I just want to talk to like here, I'm going to open the heart so you can see some of the structure inside. So basically, the inside structure is, we call that right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle. I can get a little closer so you guys can see a little bit closer though. So right here, you can see that, which is left ventricle. And as you can see right here, if I put the other part on the side, on the top of the heart, you can see this is right here we call superior vena cava. The one it's not in blue, but it's just for the study purpose. This is blue right here. And then we can see that, right, this is aorta. And then we can see that here, right subclavian. And this is right here, left common carotid artery. And this is brachiocephalic. And then brachiocephalic, when it be go a little up more, and then it will be, you'll see that bifurcate, and that will become subclavian, and then the right carotid artery. So that's actually right here, aorta trunk we call that, and that's where those arteries are getting originate from here. So basically, as we can see right here, right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. And right here, actually, you can see that there's a little valve here, we call tricuspid valve right here. Then right here is a little valve, which is go to the pulmonary artery. We call that Semilunar Wall. Those are actually aortic valve, and pulmonary valve we call semilunar wall because their shape is like a little bit like a moon, half moon, and we call that. Then we have tricuspid valve and mitral valve, which is we call intraventricular valve, which is the half part is in atria, another half part is in ventricle. So tricuspid, then we call mitral, we sometimes call bicuspid, and then pulmonic valve, and then we call here aortic valve right here. So basically, and that's where, when we say that, heart has its own pacemaker, so that's where actually in the right atrium, right here in this side, that's where the pacemaker which we call the SA node. And then right here we call the AV node. And then of course we call that, Purkinje fibers and bundle of his, how the electricity, conductivity, how it travels to the bottom side of the heart, the ventricles contract, and then the atria, first atria contract, and then the ventricles contract. So that's what the, we call the conduction system also, which we call that, when the patient have some abnormalities, so doctor orders that, do the EKGs. So that's what we see that. So that's basically, but we'll talk about in detail so you guys can understand how the conduction system really works, how the myocardial cells work, how these cells have which we call intercalated disc, how they contract basically. So they are involuntary muscles, which is not done by the nervous system basically. As we smooth muscles, of course, also involuntary, but which we call the skeletal muscle, which is contract by the nervous system. So, but the heart muscle, myocardial, we call them myocardiogenic muscles. So they are actually have their own pacemaker, which is SA node, and how they contract and all this. We'll talk about next time. But this is basically want to talk about how the inside little bit is the structure and how the top structures. And basically, as you can see, this is the septum right here, which is separate the the other side of the heart, which is called the ventricle right here, left ventricle, right ventricle, and of course the atrium. And as you can see, we have over here in the right atrium, we also see the fossa valis, which is the little bit right here during the fetal circulation, when it's a fetal and the blood circulate actually from the right atrium, instead of going to the right ventricle, it goes straight from here through the we call that shunt from here right ventricle, the right atrium to go to the left ventricle. And that's where we have, which is we call fossa valis. Right here, it's a little spot there, which is left there. And then we also, over here we can see, arteriosus, ducted arteriosus, which is right here connection from the from the right or the left atrium to the pulmonary artery. Because the blood circulation in the fetus, the lung does not work, even though the lungs made, but they work as the baby born. The moment baby born, then the lung system, circulatory system, the pulmonary system start working. But before that, the function of the heart is a different way to heart go through from the right atrium, then shunting to the left atrium, then the pulmonary artery, and then from there, like the ducted arteriosus, then the blood go from there, and then that's how it circulates. So that's basically that. And then of course we talk about and then we have we'll talk about next, we'll show you, the valves, which is they had quadrate tendonae. Those are like little thread-like thing, which is held by the papillary muscles, and those papillary muscles hold them both sides. And the reason the papillary muscles are there in quadrate tendonae, when the blood come from the atrium, go to the ventricle, they actually squeeze and shut that, so blood should not go back, so it should not be regurgitated, because if blood go back, it causes so many problems, so many abnormalities comes there, blood pressure drops, and so much happens there. And that's the same thing right here. And then we also later talk about some of the structure inside. Really, we'll talk about the really anatomy of the ventricles and the really anatomy of the atrium, their sizes, and how much the blood really get, which we call that how much the blood pumped, and how much the blood is really, we call ejection fraction, which is every minute how the blood